Legacy. It's something people don't tend to think about. However, it can be your guiding light. It can be something you can strive for. My name's Corey Kundert. I'm the host of the Wisco Legacy podcast. This podcast focuses on celebrating inspiring Wisconsinites. Every now and then I'll be releasing a solo episode like this. If you have any topics you want me to cover, please reach out and let me know. Since starting this podcast, I've thought a lot about the legacy that I eventually want to leave behind. If you've tuned in to an episode of this podcast, you know that I close out each episode by asking my guests this question. When all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? When I started the podcast, I did not give my guests a heads up about that question. I would make it to the end and spring it on them. Some were able to roll with it and give great answers. Others needed a moment to reflect. It's a big question. I was interviewed by the Monroe Times a while back, and they asked me the exact same question. In that moment, I had a million things racing through my head. I was thinking about my kids, my wife, my mom and dad, my brother and his family, my friends. My initial reaction was, man, I need to think about how people will think of me when I'm gone. Do I really want to think about that? Or do I want to give a surface level answer? In that moment, I gave a surface level answer. Something that's pretty common when I ask the question. However, since that conversation with the Monroe Times, my thought process on that question has shifted. I now tell my guests that question ahead of time. It gives them some time to think about it and give a deeper answer. It allows a person to really reflect on how they want to be perceived. And it's been great. So you're probably wondering what my answer to, when all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, is. Well, the answer ties into my identity as a father, something that former guest Jonathan Orr talked about on our episode. On the surface, I want to be remembered as a loving father, husband, son, brother, and friend. I want people to think of me and say, I like that guy. He was a nice dude who tried to do his best all the time. Diving deeper, I want to help my children become the best version of themselves. I want them to surpass anything my wife and I ever accomplish. I want to have deep, meaningful conversations with my kids that help them learn and grow as humans. I want to teach them to control their life and live the life they've always dreamt of. I want to empower others to do the same. We only get one shot at life, and I want people, especially my kids, to live the life they desire. And if I can have an impact on that, I'll be happy. That's the legacy I want to leave behind someday. Now that I reframe this, listeners, I must ask you, when all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Leave a comment on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn, and let everyone know. And thank you for tuning in to this solo episode of Wisco Legacy. Please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcast and subscribe wherever you listen.